me. You're so nice. This guy.
Dude, I know how it goes. You're just trying to do some shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like... I might be stupid, but
it's definitely
at least
stupid.
You're doing something.
The button has been pushed. Hello and welcome.
That's the intro.
That is the intro. That's the one. See, so now you can judge on whether it's stupid or not. We don't hurt my feelings, so we'll do that later. But welcome back, you guys. So it's What's the Reason for This? We are back to our regular scheduled programming. So we've spent the last month or so focusing on Hurricane Helene and the victims and creating Melody's Relief and the auctions and all this nonsense. And in that chaos, obviously I still reach out to people, and I happen to send this fine gentleman a message, and I was like, hey man, I have friends, they met you at a neighborhood block party.
Oh yes.
Right?
That's right.
And they're like, holy shit, is that Andy Hall? And I was like, no fucking way, you live next to Andy Hall? So I sent him a message, and I was like, hey man, would you be interested in coming on the show? And we're getting dusted, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting dusted.
Andy Hall, welcome, man. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This basement could use some dusting, so...
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
it's pretty dusty already, but I gotta take some more, dude.
It's definitely a very different kind of dusting that needs to happen over here. But yeah, man, so it's crazy. We always bring on guests because we want to find out more about them, more about their story, what's going on. We are huge Bluegrass fans, so for us, we understand like how epic the Dobro can be. And I want to start by saying, is every guitar a Dobro, or is that like a copywritten term? Or is that a certain like brand?
I've seen the term resonator guitar.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert.
And that's how the IBM Awards is, right?
Yeah.
It's for the resonator?
Dobro is a brand name.
Okay.
So, that is
so it's like Band-Aid.
Yes, it's like Band-Aid or Kleenex or something like that. Or
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, but it's so ubiquitous, and resophonic guitar or resonator guitar is such a mouthful.
Yeah.
We all, pretty much most Dobro players just call it a Dobro.
They're like,
but if it's official at IBM or something, they can't use the brand name so much. But for us,
they want to fork over some money and pay for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, the name
brought to you by, is it Gibson?
They own Dobro. Gibson owns Dobro, and it's sad because they don't not really much going on with Dobro brand right now. And
okay.
So it's like, I wish there was a little more happening with it. They don't necessarily currently make the best instruments, but it's they started it, and Dobro's the brand name. So
do you know where the term Dobro comes from?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So in the guy who invented it was from what's now I guess Czech Republic. Or maybe somewhere in Eastern Europe, and Dobro means good in Czech.
No shit.
Yeah, Dobro means good, it was like this guy, the Dopiro brothers were the name of the brothers who invented the Dobro, and they're from that area, and so they kind of mixed their name Dopiro with Dobro meaning good, and they call it a Dobro. So and then they moved to the States and started building these resophonic guitars.
When was that?
I guess early 30s, late 20s.
Okay.
Or mid 20s, I guess. So they started with like metal body guitars that were Hawaiian kind of. Hawaiian music was big at the time.
Slack key.
The slack key, yeah.
For sure.
It's kind of, that's the story of the Dobro is kind of long, but it started with these brothers who immigrated. Dobro is a Czech word that means good.
Okay.
And they brought it to America and started building them. And
so then how the hell did you find it? What made you pick it up? Because my understanding is you went to music school in Boston, correct?
Yeah, Berklee College of Music. I was a guitar player.
Okay.
So I'm from upstate New York, not exactly the home of Bluegrass.
Yeah.
In fact, I was like a lot of kids. I grew up in the 80s, and I just, country, I didn't even know what Bluegrass was, but country was like... I was a metalhead. I was learning like Ozzy and Metallica.
So that's why the Dusters are such a slow-paced bluegrass band.
It's not everybody in the band is a metalhead, but I'm always the one who's like, come on, let's rock, let's go. But yeah, I started on guitar and then got into like started as a guitar player. You then kind of get into like more kind of good stuff like blues and like some of the authentic music.
Is that where Dobro kind of started? Was the blues since it was like the 20s
that was
and 30s?
the transition, you know. And then I got into classic rock like everyone, like Zeppelin and stuff like that, and then got into blues. And but I was at Berklee, the College of Music, and my freshman year I was like practicing like 6 hours a day, just because it's very competitive. And I got this bad hand injury, like tendonitis, and it got to where I couldn't play. So I started playing slide guitar as like an alternative to just kind of get me through, and then like bottleneck slide, like regular guitar slide. And then I went to a jam, like a blues jam, and some guy had a lap style dobro, and I was like, "What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, check, this thing's amazing." And he had a very nice one. It was called the shear horns, like handmade, beautiful.
Oh, gosh.
And I like started to like play a little.
And that's the first time you got on one?
Yeah, I was probably 19.
You're like, "Oh, nice. Here's a Cadillac. Let's take it for a spin."
It was, and I was just like, oh,
So that was one of those moments you're like, I need one of these.
yeah, the sound, and also like I was handicapped at playing, and so it was kind of like a solution to my
everything that you were faced.
Yeah, it was because when you're in music school and your hands goes down, you're bummed and you're freaking out, and so I heard the sound, and then a buddy of mine around the same time gave me a cassette tape of a Jerry Douglas album, and then I was like, oh, you can do all that on it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I want. This is what I want. That's amazing. This is what
That's
I want
awesome.
to do. So then it was
Well, because then it's a different time, right? And like looking for music now, like the kids these days, fucking, it's all digital. They listen to one song and then they get suggestions, right? For us, unless you had like friends or family that like knew what you were trying to get into, there wasn't a place that we could like go to and find out like, oh, I need to go listen to X, Y, and Z for that foundation.
No, it was like exploring, It was like being an musical explorer. You you had to meet somebody. Yeah, they gave you the cassette.
Yeah.
You took it. You still couldn't hear it. You had to take it home or whatever, and then or put it in your car, and then you turn it on. You're like, oh, it was like So
Well, and then depending on how many times it's been re-recorded, it's like even fuzzier and fuzzier every time, right?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like, oh. But it still like resonates with you. So you were in school in Boston. That was 19 that you started. So then do you have to like declare what instrument you're playing, or was it all like, so was that like a transition? What did that look like?
Yeah, so you have to have like a principal instrument at Berklee. And so I transitioned to voice. I became a voice principal.
Oh, wow.
So then, I was just starting to sing, and then all of a sudden I'm in with like literally like virtuosic singers, and I'm like just literally did it out of necessity.
You thought the guitar was hard.
And like, and deer in the headlights. Oh no, have I made a mistake?
I remember
the voices of angels.
Like Tony Bennett's daughter was like in my class,
and
I'm like
wild.
Like I'm just trying to find my voice, and but I ended up doing music production and engineering for like the degree. So like I was like a studio guy,
find all the background stuff.
Yeah, but you still had to have an instrument, so voice ended up being. And then Dobro was just happening on my own, like on the side. So I was because there was no Dobro, no teacher, no information.
Was there any like bluegrass like focus at all back then?
No, there was none. There is now.
So were you getting pushed to like country? Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like the evolution is like now it's become way more prominent with guys like you. Like people don't. You guys have put out what?
24 albums?
23, and then you have a new album coming out. This will air on Monday. So then Tuesday the 13th, you guys have the third version of the Undercover album.
Yeah,
out,
Undercover.
Right?
Yep, exactly. And then we're going into the studio next week to start our 10th like original studio album.
That's crazy.
So yeah, but. Yeah, it was interesting, at Berklee to like see there was nothing there. There was a country ensemble, which I was in. But there was a little contingent of bluegrass players there at the time. There was also some other great bands there at the time. The Lettuce guys were there.
Oh, wow.
At Berklee, and Garrett Sayers from the Motet, like I knew him. He was in New England Conservatory. This band, The Slip, were there, who some people may know, but. There's a really vibrant music scene back then, and with bands who are still around like today.
So you found two of the original members while you were at school there, right?
No, I had left, and Chris Pandolfi, the banjo player for the Dusters, he started like right after I left. So we actually didn't cross paths there.
Cross over at all.
No, I moved to Nashville and started like trying to do Nashville stuff, and then I
Nash
came
Vegas,
back.
here comes your country musician.
Were you intending when you set out to Nashville, like, I want to be in a bluegrass band, I want to play dobro, or did that just kind of naturally evolve? Was that a goal you set?
Oh,
or were
yeah.
you like, I love this damn thing, and this is what I want to play?
Oh yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
I had 3 months worth of rent.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
And that's it, and like, my dobro, and just, you went.
They're like, I'm going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. But I went back for a visit to Boston, and Panda was playing in the band that I had left. So I left the band, and he joined the band that I left.
Wait, you got to give us some Dusters trivia. So what was that band? What was
Bag Boys, B-A-G, Bag Boys.
The Bag Boys.
Yeah, old
So now we got to
Boston
find the old cassette tapes or recordings of the Bag Boys.
They're still around, and they're awesome. And that band was super influential for both Panda and I, because they played a lot, like regionally. They would play every weekend, and that was like my first like real band where I started like getting, you go play and they'd like give you $50 at the end. And I was
like,
wow.
Oh shit, I can make money doing this?
Yeah.
Whoa!
I thought it was so cool.
That's awesome.
Until I moved to Nashville, I realized I was not that cool.
You're like, oh shit. So you get to Nashville and you're like, damn, so everybody can play. So
Yeah.
what was that like? Did you move in? Were you living by yourself? Did you get in with a house of other band members or
Yeah, a
musicians?
couple other guys from Boston who I worked at a music store with. The three of us all went down together.
So this was a master plan.
This was a master plan.
We
We
boys,
worked-
we're going to Nashville.
Yeah, we're going to Nashville. We're going to make our way. And I played bluegrass. One guy played kind of rock guitar, and another guy was like a singer-songwriter. So we were kind of doing different stuff, but all wanted to go to Nashville. So yeah, we got in the U-Haul van and,
Made it happen.
So
what year was that?
2001. That was
Okay.
2001. Yeah.
And then when did you start to break through? Was it in Nashville in those 90 days as it was daunting over your shoulders?
No, I mean when those 90 days were up, it was sketchy because there was no money.
Who wants to feed me?
Yeah. Oh man, and it was just So I got a job parking cars. Like at just like a car park
just getting
thing.
something.
And,
Yeah.
and it was in an auto auction. So I got a job at like an auto auction where you get in the car and
Pull
you
it up
drive
to
it
the
up
hump.
into the thing, and they're
Yeah.
like, they do the auction, and then they tap on, and you drive it to the solo, and then you run, and you get in another car, and you drive.
You're like, wait, here, listen to my tape.
Yeah.
Blasting it from
Right. But yeah, so I kind of did that just to make it sweet, and then, but yeah, it was I started off as like a sideman in Nashville, so
Got it.
just like. The dream hadn't come to fruition of like starting a band yet. It was like I was trying to, I was doing recording sessions. Eventually I started to get into it, and I got into a band, a bluegrass band that was like with some legendary players. The banjo player had played in Bill Monroe's band, and it was like my first real like legit bluegrass band, and that was amazing. And then just started getting some sessions and started playing with people, and then ended up eventually getting hired by Dolly Parton and was in her band for a while and did a record with her.
I did not know that. That's
I did not know that either.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
That was just the Nashville scene. Once you start doing like
Just
recordings,
intertwined with everybody.
yeah, you start doing like I did a recording session with her band leader at the time.
Okay.
I just ended up on a record. When you're doing sessions, you're with you go in the studio and you're like different people every day.
Yeah, you're just jamming out. And
You're
then they hear
doing an
something.
album, and so he was like, check. Dolly needs a dobro player. Think you'd be great. Blah blah blah. So I kind
So
of
do they give you like a list of songs that they want you to play to audition with, or like how does that go?
Yeah, it was sort of like she had hired a band that was like an established bluegrass band.
Okay.
That didn't have a dobro, and so their band was.
So they're like,
already
hey, we're gonna give you this guy.
Yeah.
And here comes an Andy like,
Yep. So the band needed dobro. They didn't have it. I knew this band. It was called the Graskels. And
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're still around. Amazing
That's great.
band. Very cool people too. And so I kind of got into that. So there were two bands. There was like her old school original country band. They were like family members and stuff. They'd been with her since the 70s.
Crazy.
And then also this bluegrass band. And they were kind of the two bands met, and it was like this big band. They could do bluegrass, could do country on the show, and whatever.
what was the tour like?
Epic. It was like an arena tour.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and 5 buses and tractor trailers, and
How was it the dynamics? Because like those are some established bands, right? Now you're just like the FNG, like thrown in there.
It was awesome because the Grascals, they were doing their thing and they would open the show.
Okay.
And then but I wasn't in the Grascals. I was just like, so I ended up being on the bus with like the old school, like country, like her family.
That's
stuff.
awesome.
Like, and it was epic because they were much older than me. They've been doing this forever and I was the noob. And the Grascals were like they were putting on their best face. So they were not partying or anything, but her band partied. I mean, they were old school country band, and they would throw down, and it was awesome. And so I was just this kid in with all these like seasoned country vets, and we would.
Shit.
It was they raged, man. They were amazing and great people, and just.
Did they give you like tips and pointers of like what to expect or what you should be doing? Because did you know that it was like a limited stint that you'd be doing that with them, and did they help at all?
Yeah, they were super kind people, very helpful. It wasn't. They didn't give me a ton of advice. I could play dobro, and I was like, I was just trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna be cool, and as long as I'm not the biggest troublemaker like on the tour, then I think I'll be fine, and I could play. And I was like, okay. And so it wasn't a lot of like. The advice and the things I learned were just like being on the road with them and seeing how they
picking it up.
Yes, how they did it, and they were, like I said, people were really nice, and it was fascinating and cool and interesting, and So.
That's awesome. So then, how did it transition? Was that the last thing that you did before you started finding a band?
It was, yeah. So we had finished an album and this big tour for the album. And some time went by, and then she called. I had met Panda and the original guitar player, and we started sort of percolating the Stringdusters. We wanted to do, we were like-minded, similar age, progressive, bluegrass kind of people, and we're like, we want to write our own music, and the side guy thing is cool, but we want to, we all had wanted to be in a band.
But you had spent a lot of time playing in onesie-twosies all over the place.
Yeah, and so Dolly called and was like, got another tour, gonna do another album, want you to be in it. And I was like, I'm kind of getting this other thing together. And so I had...
Oh man, you stood up Dolly Parton?
So I had
you know what, Dolly, I'll pencil you in if I've got time.
I called
I'm sorry.
I think I called the Dusters, our band was like forming, and I called the guys and I was like, we're gonna do this, right? Because I'm gonna like not do Dolly Parton. I'm gonna do this like... band that's
like,
playing
I'm picking
for nothing
you over Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
This is
so
a thing,
we're gonna
right?
do it, right? So and they were like, yeah, we're doing it. And I was like, all right. So yeah.
And you guys fucking did it, because that first album, like, what was it? 2007
is when it came out.
Was it when it came out? And like, so I'm trying to think about like. That's after Cheese had like the early 2000 run to kind of help with some of that old bluegrass. Where do you feel like bluegrass was? Like as a whole, and then where you guys were coming from, and then how that started to transition and grow from like even like the venues you're playing at to the number of fans and what you kind of have going on there.
Yeah, it's a good point and question because I had never heard of String Cheese Incident. I had never heard of Yonder Mountain String Band. I'd never heard of Leftover Salmon. The worlds of bluegrass were very disparate at that time.
For sure.
There was like traditional bluegrass. A lot of it was happening in the southeast, in Nashville. That was very much, focused on like the technique and the tradition and that we were kind of more steeped in that, and hadn't crossed paths at all with any of those guys. Although Panda was kind of a bit of our bridge because he was playing before we started the Dusters. He was playing, I think, in the Drew Emmett band.
Oh wow!
So he was kind of like. We were playing these like...
Connected to the scene, like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's the 7 degrees of Panda.
Exactly.
Like,
he
okay,
was,
we're going to start making some lists here.
The web is, deep and wide, but yeah, so like we were playing these pretty square like festivals and
for
things.
sure.
Like, it's just lawn chairs and everyone's seated. And
and sit down, yeah, because like
everyone sits.
I was in Minnesota, so Trampled by Turtles was coming up at that time. And like it was the boys even like sat down and would play.
They sat originally,
sitting, and I was like, what? And then it was great because the first merch that they had was because they had a shirt where it was them all sitting, and then one of it was kicking over the chair.
Yeah. Oh, that's when they made their decision to stand.
And
it was like a moment.
And then it
now
fucking
we stand.
just...
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Because we played... I think when we did a tour with Trampled, they had just started standing.
Yes.
And... But yeah, so that Southeast scene was like very, awesome, and it gave us a start, and and there was like an established set of festivals.
Is there like foundational festivals down there that you should like, hey, I need to show up to this, and we need to make our name and play our set here?
Yeah.
Where are those places?
There was a place called Graves Mountain in Virginia where like the legendary bands of the traditional scene, like J.D. Crowe and Tony Rice and the Seldom Scene would play, and so we wanted to do good there. There was like Dumplin' Valley, and these little, they're small, but they were known.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, it's foundational,
the
right?
big bands of that scene would play. And then our original guitar player, Chris Eldridge, who is now in the Punch Brothers, has been since 2007, he knew Craig Ferguson from Planet Bluegrass, from Telluride and stuff.
Nice.
Because his dad was in the band The Seldom Scene. So anyway, he introduced us to Craig Ferguson, and told Craig, hey, you got to get our new band over at Rocky Grass. And so Rocky Grass, I think we did that in 2006, and that was kind of our first step into like the Colorado bluegrass scene.
I have had so many people tell me that have been in like I chat with the word chat is I bother the bands when they're done playing and talk to them after a set, like the smaller bands, and they all tell me the same thing. They're like, hey man, the bluegrass scene in Colorado is a different ballgame. You guys take this shit seriously. And like so like how different is that, getting into like coming out here and getting into that, and then that like transition from like the more old timey traditional stuff into the more progressive stuff? Because I know at one point there was this whole thing of like the old versus the new, and like, I don't like the new grass, it's too jammy or whatever.
Did you come from the Southeast to Colorado?
Yeah, I moved from Nashville to Colorado. Yeah, that dichotomy between like the traditional stuff and whatever, like the modern, more jammy stuff, that's kind of always been there.
Yeah.
Like even since the 60s, like there were bands that we would now call traditional, but at the time they were like doing covers of like rock tunes and stuff. So that's kind of always been there to some degree. But yeah, when we kind of started playing in Colorado, and our bass player Travis is from here, so he had some connection. And I'll never forget, like, I think we played the Animus Theater in Durango.
Oh, shit.
And I think it was the first time we like started like improvising and jamming, because everyone was dancing, and we were like, this is amazing. Like, look at everyone's up like dancing, like. And then I think we were like, let's
in
jam.
When the color comes on.
Yep. Yeah, it was. Well, for us, it was definitely the light bulb moment. Like, this is what we want to do. We want to like feel the energy from people. We don't want to just like put on a performance and like you sit there and we play, and that's cool too. But we just ate it up. That initial
sit your Dobro on a stand and just blankly stare into the.
Yeah, it's a different thing, and again, that's cool. But when we got that feedback from the audience, we just turned on, and we were like, and we started kind of naturally just extending solos, because people were jamming. We don't want to end yet.
Yeah,
awesome. People are dancing. Like, why would we stop if everyone's grooving and in the zone? So then you start naturally like stretching out and expanding, and then it's like I say, those webs of things all feed into each other. Then Pandit, kind of remembers his connection with Drew Emmett, and we start having a Salmon connection, and you start running into these other bands like Yonder and String Cheese, and getting to know them, and but really it was the crowd difference, that vibe from the crowd, that really was like a light bulb for us that we want to go do that. Oddly enough, it's not like
and
that.
It happened in Colorado, in case you guys were
It
wondering.
happened in Colorado. It did. I mean, and now 3 of us live here.
You're welcome, world.
Yeah. But it's a very different thing. It's in Colorado. It's more about that vibe and the energy with the crowd, and just I don't want to call it entertainment, but just getting that vibe going of the bluegrass energy and the dancing and the revelry. In the Southeast, it's really the technique and the musicianship are really like important in the focus.
Yeah.
Whereas out here, it's just what's the energy, what are people feeling, what's the vibe, and so we kind of hopefully our hope was to kind of have some of both.
For sure.
Have like the music and the bluegrass pedigree, but then get the vibe going. And
so was the Animus show before Rocky Grass, or was it after?
That's a good question. That would have been. It was 2006. It might have been before. Like we had like our first Colorado run that Travis, our bass player, put together, because he was from here. So we just, we played Steve's Guitars in Carbondale as a guitar
awesome.
store. and we just set up.
Just get out.
Yeah, just wherever, and I can't remember. We might have played
planting those seeds in Colorado, and then we just start.
Yeah, we played a house concert up in Boulder with some friends that he knew who were still friends. We literally played just in their living room.
That's awesome.
And then we didn't have another show for a week, and they put us up for a week. We slept on their floor for a whole full week, and they made us food, and I mean those types of people were like our friends Beth and Gus Cook. Thanks, guys.
That's awesome.
They put us up for a week, and they fed us, and we got to explore Boulder, and it was people like that hook bands up.
So were you guys writing the album at the same time when you were doing all this, or what were you guys focusing on as you were transitioning your sound from some of these because were you playing more traditional bluegrass and how did your set list start to evolve and change?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we did. We had the album done kind of at that point, and we had, we were kind of still working out the details with our label that was going to sign us.
Okay.
One of the details actually was that we were going to be the Stringdusters.
Okay.
And there was already a Stringdusters in existence.
In the same
they're
as well as Bluegrass?
Yeah, and so the Stringdusters is actually a name of a band that was around in the 40s.
Not to put any shit on you, but where's the Stringdusters now?
They might still be around. Our label is hey, there's a little Stringdusters, they're in upstate New York, and they play, and so we got to figure this out. So anyway, it took us a while to get the label.
Alternate universe Andy Hall from Binghamton playing in the Stringdusters?
We split and had these two paths, but so then we qualified it by becoming Infamous, and that was what solved that problem.
That's fun.
But anyway, we had the record done. We started recording that in 2005, waiting for it to come out. All the while though, we're touring, we're writing songs, we're inventing jams to put in songs. We're just, because when you're on the road at that time, you're gone, you're out there for 6 weeks. You have days off, plenty of days.
Did you guys do it in a van with a trailer? Or
yeah, van in a trailer.
Super
we had
intimate, right?
The G20 Chevy, which was the one with the drapes and
the
captain's chairs.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally look, these were the seats were like this.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
And the back had a bench that folded all the way back, so two guys could sleep back there while you drove. But so you're writing songs, you're coming up with jams, you're just creating, we're putting in bluegrass songs that we each know, and it's a very fertile time when you're together for 6 weeks on the road. Just you're becoming buddies, you're getting in arguments, you're freaking you're coming up with music. It's a dense little time.
Did you ever have any moments where you're frustrated with your band? So I could have been with Dolly Parton right now, but I picked you guys. What are you doing?
Yeah, you try not to bring that one up. You're it's too bad, bro.
Too bad, bro.
Working
You're
from 9 to 5 comes on the radio, and they're quickly changing the station.
Yeah.
They're like, don't let Andy fucking hear that.
Yeah, you could have been in the Four Seasons on the bus, but you're in the van, bro.
You're in it to win it now, bro. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, that's awesome.
So where did some of your foundation come from in bluegrass? So you talked about the Jerry Douglas tape, right? Mm-hmm. So then now that you're in it, right? You are in bluegrass. How did your where you were pulling from? Where were you getting those from? Was it from friends? Was it from other musicians? And what was the stuff that that really tied you in? Because I know for me, mine is John Hartford's Steam Powered Airplane. Fucking changed my world. Because I saw Jeff Austin play, and he's like, "Oh, I got a John Hartford tune." I was like, "Who the fuck is John Hartford?"
Right.
And then I went home and it blew my mind. So for you, what were some of those bands?
Yeah.
And Shay and I talked about it because a lot of people don't know bluegrass.
Yeah.
Right. So they're like, "Oh yeah, I love the Dusters," and they're like, "What fucking song is this?" And you're like, "No."
Yeah, for me, I mean, the A team of bluegrass musicians. So Jerry Douglas, Tony Rice, Bale Fleck, Sam Bush. That's the crew.
My Telluride lineup.
The Telluride House Band were sort of because they had what we wanted, which was the bluegrass pedigree and the chops and the being steeped in the traditional stuff, but a creative desire to explore and to innovate, and so that's what we wanted to do. So that's who we look up to, the most. I mean, awesome. They were the cats, and really were so influential. But the influences are wide. I mean, when I was 20 years old in Boston, I was going to see, Fish, and, I was wear a skirt and freaking no shirt and had hair down to here and had my little pouch with my Sherlock glass in it and just, I was
Andy
doing,
Hall's a fucking 1.0er.
Dude, I saw Fish in '92 in Binghamton at the whatever that theater there is, and I was going to see Jerry the Grateful Dead, original Grateful Dead, but then and then Berklee, all the influences there. It's just, but as far as bluegrass, it was Tony Rice is probably still, I gotta say, Tony and Jerry are my two biggest influences. Just they took their instrument from where it was to this whole new level, way beyond their genre, and that and just widened the palette for everyone who came after. So
that's pretty awesome. And to be perfectly honest, I feel like that's something that you and a handful of others have been doing with the Dobro over the last 15 years, right? Because for us now, you look at these bluegrass bands, and I know for one, every time Jerry Douglas comes on Telluride, the crowd loves it, right? And he eats it up. We were at Billy Strings, and then who fucking walks out on stage? And
Jerry Douglas.
No. It was this motherfucker.
Oh, you mean the original?
Yes,
oh, yeah.
Fiddlers.
Was it Fiddlers? Yeah.
And you
we were screaming like little
the
girls.
Fucking house down. I was like, I fucking knew they needed a Dobro player. Like, let's fucking go. And so, like, obviously that's a whole different scene. But like, being able to bring like your experience, your jams, and that sound, right? Like, I can't say it. Resophonics.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it fucking resonates, right? Because it reverberates through. It's a completely different sound than just the guitar. And so, like, to watch you come out, like, I've seen so many Duster shows. I've seen you guys in Telluride. I've seen, like, the Nightgrass shows. Like, I love it. But then when I saw...
Those Nightgrass shows are offensively fun, by the way.
Oh, man.
One of the best shows I've ever been to was at the 50th last year. That was my first Telluride.
Oh, cool.
And we did the thing where I stood outside and waited to find somebody with tickets.
Sweet.
And my buddy who's been there 15 years, he's like, no, go stand on this corner because this is where you go. You'll get in.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice.
It brought the house down.
Dude, and that's where
Absolutely
Telluride's amazing. It's all about who you fucking know.
Yeah.
But, like, for you, and, like, Billy Strings has, like, blown this thing up. But then to see what a musician like you added to that fucking show and to all of us fanboys, be like, fuck yeah. And then just seeing you, and you always look so fucking happy.
Yeah.
Like, you look so... Not only is your hair perfect, but your smile...
And for the record, I want our audience to know, yes, guys, I'm jealous of Andy's hair.
We'll ask about his routine later. Just
Yeah.
I want to surf in that.
Oh, you're barber. That does
That
it, dude.
makes so much sense.
Crutching.
You're like,
Crutching.
okay, well, so we need to props to...
Yeah.
God damn it. That's great.
Makes sense.
Yep.
But, like, I just thought that you were, like, locked in. Be like, okay, like, I'm just fucking perfect. But, like, no, man. But you do. You look so happy. And when you were up there ripping and going back and forth in, like, those battles... Do you have one? Because, like, obviously that's memorable for me recently. Do you have some of those times where you, like, sat and went head-to-head with one of your musicians at one of these shows and had, like, these duels that you just, like, you always look back and you're like, man, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times that's fun. One of my favorite people to do that with is Bill Nershi.
Oh,
He's just so down and so great at, and just such a great listener, and he's just... Yeah, he's one of my favorites. I remember doing that a good bit with Jeff Austin too, and Jeff, he was very. I mean, I learned a lot from Jeff. Just his energy, just and how to like. You're not just trying to like play the right notes. You're trying to, do something to the crowd with what your notes and your energy, and so I remember like. Doing that with Jeff early on when I was like learning to jam, and him just blowing me away. Like I didn't know what I was like. I'd play a little bit and stop, and then he would just, and the crowd would go bananas. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, notes, And I remember some big ones with Jeff, but done it with Jerry Douglas and Sam Bush and a lot of my heroes now too, which is cool. And yeah, speaking of, and just seeing how being up close to like masters in that way, like literally facing off with them, is something amazing. And I did it with Dolly and with singing in a way. We did like a duet every night in the show. So her and I would do John Lennon's Imagine.
That's awesome.
Where each got the mic, the handheld mic, and we'd like singing to each other's eyes, and
And then he whispers, "Suck it, Berklee."
Yeah. But I would see her command the crowd, and it was just like you absorb all these things, and getting to be face to face with masters like that is, and Billy too. Billy is a master, and seeing how he has evolved and getting to trade licks with him, and it's cool to see. It's just anyone who listens and can play and is interested in what you're doing, it's going to be fun.
Do you do any of like those camps or like the coaching or training or things like that we've seen?
We've done a lot of those. I still do actually. I'm not active on it now, but it's still up there. It's an online teaching school for Dobro. I did it for 10 years. Wow. And I was active on it for 10 years. It's all the lessons are still there, called Artist Works. And it's an amazing teaching resource, and probably the most, shout out to Artist Works, amazing. The Dobro School's got to be the biggest reservoir of like Dobro teaching information out there. So, and
how did that compare to when you were picking it up?
I had nothing. I remember I had a book that I found in the music store. This guy, Stacy Filter, it had been around since the 70s. It was like the one book there was for like 30 years, And in the back it had a little 45 record.
Okay.
And you ripped it, you pulled it out and you put it on. It had the little examples.
That's awesome. You to play your
licks. Yeah, so you could hear it. So it had the tablature, but you could put it on and be like, okay, and now lesson 1. Not to date myself.
I've got something in my front pocket.
Yeah. And then you're like, let's do it. But
you're like, play faster.
Yeah. But yeah, that was it. It's amazing to see how it's grown. One of the cool things about the Dobro, you were kind of talking about this before, is I love being an ambassador for it. That it is a weird instrument, and I love that it's not common, and that at every show I feel like we play, like there's somebody who's like, I've never seen that before. I'm like, sick,
Yes.
Like that's really cool. Like I'm out here
take some notes.
Yeah, just showing people this cool different instrument and presenting them a sound they've never heard, and it's good for people to see new stuff. And we've seen so much. It's cool when you see something new, right? Anybody, when I see something new, a new instrument, I'm like, whoa.
I've seen you come out on stage with people and play with bands, and then I'll have my buddies be like, "Oh, who's that?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna slap you later.
Yeah,
pay attention."
But that's that's what I love is like that being that ambassador for this sort of weird instrument, So.
But so like for you, how was it? Because you talked about like your wrist having an injury when you were in college. So like some people who may not understand, like it's flat down, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you are playing kind of like a fucking magician, but it's almost like a keyboard, right? Like, because you're playing with the flat strings. Can you explain to like the noobs that may not have seen a dobro, like what it may be?
Well, it is a guitar, technically. We like to fancy ourselves guitar players, even though it's, so it's a guitar, but yeah, it's played flat, and the strings are super high off the neck. So you never press the string down. You have like a metal bar. It's a slide. It's a solid metal slide, and you slide on the strings. The strings never go down. You just slide on top of them, and then with the right hand, you pluck the strings. And the hubcap looking thing is the resonator. So that was developed, what we were talking about earlier, the Dobro brothers who made it up, before electric guitars, before there's electrified.
Oh, wow.
To make it louder. So they wanted to figure out how to make a guitar louder before you could plug one in for it. And so they made a mechanical way to amplify it and make it resonate so it would be louder. But it survived the transition into electrification because it sounded cool, also. So that's what it is. It makes it's a sliding, singing kind of sound. And
does it matter what you have on your sliding hand? Does that influence the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's... So the way... traditional slide, when most people think it was like this, and you have like something that goes on your finger, like a bottleneck thing.
People think it's like a shot glass.
Yeah, or it could be a shot glass. It could be a beer bottle.
Yeah.
But this is a solid just a solid piece of steel.
Okay.
And that gives it like a good tone and a lot of sustain.
Because it's reverberating those strings?
Yeah, it's solid.
Not that I know science at all, but...
Yeah, no, actually, this is getting pretty sciencey for me, too. But no, just that solid, the weight of it, lays on the strings, and the steel and the string vibrate that string down to the resonator goes, and it creates that sound, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So with yours specifically, and I know a lot of fans are asking this, the rumor that I've heard is that your dobro specifically is magic. And that if I were to smell the resonator hole, it always smells like whatever your favorite home cooked meal is.
Oh,
is that true?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I knew it. See, I told you
What's
that
that
was
meal?
true.
What's the meal?
Well,
what is Andy Hall's dobro?
What does your dobro smell like?
What does my dobro smell like? It's because I'm
success.
drooling.
Sounds like success.
Just drooling.
No, that's all of us drooling, watching.
Yeah.
We're like, oh,
whatever,
Jesus.
The ring.
I'm sorry, I just derailed your entire excellent explanation of how dobro works.
No, I mean, maybe if I pack it full of, tikka masala or something.
See, now that's, I specifically tried to overdose on chicken tikka masala last week.
Yeah.
And I'm here before you, so I was not successful, but I will try again.
Yeah.
We made some last out?
No, it's just lack of water. He's referencing one of our favorite local bands, Magoo.
Love Magoo.
They're great, dude. They're super nice
great
guys.
dobro player.
Yeah.
We were
Dylan
gonna say. So Dylan is amazing, and he was actually at Rocky Grass. So when you guys played Rocky Grass, did they have the picker contest where they had the slide contest?
Yes. Yeah. I never did it, but they had.
Why
because I was the first time I went, I was hired to play, and it didn't seem.
That's not right. It's only for amateurs. I don't know. We're like, all right, we're gonna send Andy Hall to Rocky Grass this year.
I think he'll probably do okay. If I had to guess, yeah.
But Dylan actually was there last year, and he won the
good
Player of the Year.
Not surprised.
Well, the kid is amazing, and I was like, because we're actually having our benefit show. They're headlining for us.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So next Friday they're doing that, and I was like, "Oh, Dylan, I'm going to tell Andy Hall that he needs to come and have a dobro duel down with you at the bowling alley."
Nice.
And he's like, "Holy shit, you're talking to Andy Hall?" I was like, "Yeah, bro. I don't know how the fuck it happened either." But
he's a good dude.
He's one of the nicest people. Yeah. When I originally started following around and going to all their shows, I told him, I was like, "Man, I hope it's not creepy that I'm everywhere you guys are." And he's like, "No, man, you're the next member of the band. Don't worry about it."
Wow,
that's so nice.
I gotta talk to you. That's a little too nice.
Yeah,
don't be that nice.
Yeah, don't be that nice. No.
Shay's extra.
You'll regret it.
Shay's extra creepy and also ginormous. So he might have been a little bit intimidated.
Yeah.
But he was like, "Oh man, that's so awesome. He's one of my idols, and he looks up to you and how you play, right?" And so it's cool because now you didn't have a lot to pick from, and now you kind of see some of these younger generations start picking this up. Right?
Man, it's awesome, and I love meeting them and getting to share whatever I might know with people. This is the generation of sharing the information. I feel I feel like back in the day, sometimes people would keep that stuff to themselves for an advantage. I'm not going to tell them my licks or blah blah. Now I feel like we're just
one of the 32 dobro players in the United States.
I joke about if somebody decides they want to pick up dobro and they go buy a dobro, they're automatically in the top 50 dobro players. Just started learning it.
You're
you're one of the top.
Oh shit! Look at me. Want to hear Mary Had a Little Lamb?
Wow. You're in a band.
There you go.
But it's I love sharing that information and just whatever I know, and it's because it's fun, and I like I say, I like being the ambassador and just.
What's something that you wish you could have learned little earlier on, whether it's with the music itself or the industry and some of the monotony that comes with management, independent venues versus corporate venues? Obviously, Bluegrass coming up, it changed, and we've had a lot of conversations with different peoples in different verticals of that, and hearing some of those challenges is nice for smaller bands who are just coming up to say, hey, look, fucking a band like Andy Hall and the Infamous Stringdusters went through something just like this, right?
Yeah, so to me, that advice is not so much business advice, although I'm sure that's what they probably wish it was. I don't know what the hell to tell you about business, because it's freaking wild.
Rent a place for 90 days, make sure you have no money afterwards.
Keep your costs low. But no, is just to not worry as much. do whatever it is it works for you to keep the anxiety about it all down, because it doesn't help, and it's unnecessary. It's gonna go just how it's supposed to go, and if you work hard, it's gonna work out great. But the worry about, when you're coming up, in some ways you need this striving kind of energy where it's like, I gotta succeed, and that can push you, and that there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I feel like there's a lot of excess that I did, for sure, worry about, what people think of me, and not so much like the achievement and anything, but just like, what did people think of me? What are they gonna think of me when I go up on stage? Are they gonna like my solo? Are they gonna like this? And that stuff is like kind of poison. It was for me.
Does it challenge your mental health? Like we feel like it has to, right? Because
yes.
we talk about it as fans, like even going on like a 2 or 3 day run and then feeling like all that energy, but then like it going away, right? And we don't even have the pressure of like performing. So like for you guys as musicians, is it like there's obviously a lot of mental health. Jeff, rest his soul, like everybody has their shit, right?
Yeah.
But so what is it that people can do to better understand? Because like obviously it's easy to say like, hey, don't worry about it. But like when you're at the end of your rent and you're like, well, fuck, I gave everything up to do this, right? And there's a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's real problems. I mean, it's not to say there's not real problems you should be concerned about. But it's the stuff when you're worried when you did pay your rent and you're still stressing about it that, you just need to be kind of aware, like in music to get good, you have to be a good observer. You have to observe other people. You have to observe your own playing. You have to be able to observe, and you got to be able to kind of observe your own mind and be able to have a little flag go up when that anxiety and repetitive thinking and is happening, when that you don't need to be worried, because sometimes you do have to be worried, and you're like, you got to get your shit together, and I can't pay rent. Okay, but yeah, shit, you're gonna be worried. That's fine, But also, even then, know that there's a limit to what the worry will bring you, and sometimes that just learning that lesson kind of maybe just comes with experience, but. I'm a lifelong meditator too. That's a big help. I know people don't. It's not the sexiest thing for a lot of people to do, but
who cares? That's what helps you.
It helps me a lot, and it just gives you a little bit of that perspective where you gotta just maybe it's remove yourself, whatever it is for you that can take you out of that constant rat race of trying to achieve my goal as a musician, because it can be 24/7. You're on stage, you're going to the gig, then you're home, then you got to practice, you got to write, you got to do the email, and it's never
so much. And that's what I was going to say is, do you feel like musicians and like chasing like that perfection, they don't celebrate like the small victories or some of these smaller things and like focus on those little wins to start stacking those little wins into bigger and better things?
Yeah, and it's a delicate balance, because you want some of that fire to achieve. You need that fire to really achieve, but you don't want it to burn you up, so sure. It's kind of a balance there, and that's a lifelong process, is finding that balance. But like, yeah, you gotta enjoy those moments, and if you can try to trend to be a glass half full type of person generally, that can really help, because music is stressful. You're an entrepreneur, is a business, which is, you don't know what, you're doing things that are weird. Society tells you that it's a little weird. People don't understand. I mean, I have people still to this day, like I meet a neighbor or something, and they're like, so you make a living doing this? And I've literally been doing it like 30. It's all I've ever done for.
Do I? Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I'm not rich, but I mean, I make a living. But like, it's just people don't understand. There's all these pressures. You do it all yourself. It's a total DIY job, and it's stressful. And so, just whatever it is for you that can help to give you a little bit of perspective, give yourself a little bit of a break from time to time, is going to be helpful.
Where was a performance or venue that you had that was kind of your like, I made it moment?
That's a good question.
Without Dolly Parton.
Yeah, well, like with the Stringdusters?
Yes, with the Dusters.
I remember, early on when we played the Grand Ole Opry, which is, for those who don't know, the Grand Ole Opry is like the mother church of country music.
The Mecca.
In Nashville, the Ryman Auditorium. I remember we got asked to do the Ryman Auditorium. It's where Hank Williams got, I mean, just every famous country and bluegrass, musician of the days of old. I mean, that's where they got their start. It's still revered.
When was the first time you guys got to play there?
Probably 2009, maybe, or something like that.
Oh man! So how would the early 2000s Andy have felt when you were like struggling through, not getting through those 90 days, and then just a couple years later be like, damn, I'm on stage here with my own band.
Yeah, well, then you do that, and then you realize, then there's the next thing, So
yeah.
And he's like, on to the next one!
Or, well, not just the achievement, but like, we did it, and I still, we gotta hustle. Like, it's,
it
that
wasn't
that
still got
that
revenue.
only paid us $150, so.
Yeah.
It was cool, but let's go, so.
That's awesome.
And then, getting to play Red Rocks for the first time was big, of course. And
did you guys headline the first time, or did you open for
No,
somebody?
we opened, oh boy, I hope I get this right. It was us and the, Wood Brothers and Yonder, maybe? Gosh. Crap.
Don't worry, your fans will correct all of us.
I can't remember what the first one. I feel like it was us, Wood Brothers, and maybe Yonder was headlining. Could have been. I don't.
That's okay.
Shoot, I should remember that.
Be like, oh shit. Be like, okay. Well, do you want me to look it up and then I can edit that out? He's like,
right.
fuck it, it's real.
Yeah.
So
real,
then let's get to something is real. What's one of those performances that you do remember? Locked in, like, oh, I remember playing here in this year.
Well, I remember our performance from that. I just don't remember who else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Got stuff that matters, man. It's up in there.
Yeah.
Did you sign the wall?
Yeah, sign the wall.
Awesome.
Yeah, I remember doing it with with Railroad Earth and Yonder one time. Us Railroad Yonder, that was great. Actually, one time I got to do it myself, my own band. Andy Hall and Friends opened for Salmon there a few years ago, which was really cool.
Awesome.
Which was, kind of amazing, a little personal, fun thing. Where like, oh my gosh, my name's Red Rex.
You're like,
but
I'm doing this on my own here with my
friends.
friends.
I mean, gosh, Dusters have had a lot of memorable gigs, many of which were here in Colorado, whether it's Red Rocks or Telluride or just amazing, or the Animus Theater, whatever, little places.
Is there anything outside of Colorado that you look forward to, or the crowd, or some of that energy?
I mean, Virginia was also kind of a de facto home for our band for a long time. We had some members live there. Our management was there. We had a festival there, and now we have a festival there again. The Infamous Weekend we've done the last couple of years. So
that's awesome.
Virginia is definitely, and we got New Year's there this year in Richmond, which we've done a bunch of times. We play Richmond a lot for New Year's. It's great. So yeah, I mean, we love doing it all. We love traveling. We love getting to see people, and
Aren't you guys having a ski tour?
Yeah, ski tour this year, and that's all the cool mountain towns, Aspen.
They're like, oh, how can we go ski and then make some money and also play some music and get shit done? How many, is it 5 or 6 different stops? Because you guys are going everywhere.
We've got 2 segments. We're doing Aspen, Telluride, Steamboat, Denver maybe first, and then we've got, I think we're doing Grand Junction, which is not necessarily a ski stop, but great to play. Salt Lake, we're doing 4 nights in Salt Lake City.
Oh, wow. So you're getting up to Park City and getting all that stuff done, too.
Yep.
So are you a big skier or snowboarder?
Skier.
Nice.
Yeah, skied my whole life.
From upstate?
Mm-hmm.
Those ginormous hills of New York.
Yeah, exactly. Just the icy, slushy little zip and you're done, but learn how to make some turns and then ski in the absolute worst conditions possible.
Yeah.
And now you end up in Colorado and you're like, I got this.
Yeah, it's a fun. It's great because out here music and skiing go together. I mean, people ski all day and then they go to the show, and we ski all day and go to the show. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What are you doing away from music? Like you said, you meditate. So are you doing that? Obviously daily? Are you doing it before shows? Are you doing it to kind of find your inner peace? I know a lot of people may not understand meditation and what goes into it, but it's really you taking the time to calm yourself and relax, right?
Yeah, yep, and just clear out the mental clutter, because a lot of people don't realize that the mind is kind of going. It's not a problem that it's always going. It's kind of built to always go, but if it goes in a way where you're feeling emotions always based on the thoughts that are happening. It's a lot of tax on the body and the mind. If you're constantly in a state of kind of heightened worry, and a lot of people are, and I can be too, which is why I do it. It gives you a break from that, and it's kind of hard to do because you just sit there.
How'd you get turned on?
I've attempted meditation a couple times, and I've always that's the issue. Is it's so hard for me to like stop.
Yeah.
And really center myself.
Yeah, well, the nice thing is, honestly, literally, like, it's like a nap. Like, if you fell asleep for 2 minutes when you were real tired, it would benefit you, right?
Yeah.
And meditation is the same thing. Even if you spent, like, literally, like, the less you do at the start, the better, because you'll do it more. If you're like, all right, I'm going to start meditating, going to do 30 minutes, you're never going to get into it, because there's no way. But if you did 3 minutes of just breathing and chilling, in a position that was not like, you got to be a little bit sitting up and kind of focused, but
you can't kick back in your lazy boy shit.
Yeah, because then it's a different thing, that's something that's cool too, but that's different.
How'd you get turned on to it?
My dad actually was a lifelong meditator and like a Zen Buddhist practitioner, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, he taught me as a teenager, and I would make fun of him as a kid. He'd be in his room on his pillow, and I'd meet my little friends going, "Yeah, he's so weird," but then later I was like, "Can you show me about that?" Because life's hard and weird.
Was there anything that he suggested for you to read to kind of learn about it?
Yeah, I mean, the books that he was into, he gave me were dense, like Zen books, but there's a lot of the one that really turned the page for me, pardon the pun, was The Power of Now. Like when I was a little bit older, that really helped me kind of, I get this. The Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
That's
it's
awesome.
short.
But it changed your mindset.
It totally changed I was like, because sometimes that stuff can be very esoteric and it's wrapped up in like maybe Buddhist dogma and it's all this other stuff. But really the crux of it is very simple. And that Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now, is so clear and simple and easy to understand that there's nothing woo-woo about it at all. It's very like just real and awesome. So I recommend that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know that you guys have, so we talked about the ski tour. Can we talk a little bit about the Uncovered album?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
so volume 3.
Yeah,
right?
volume 3.
So I was talking to Shay about it, and I was like, oh, there's 3 songs. And I talked to him, and he goes, oh, yeah, well, here's the other songs. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, yeah, on Apple Music, I have all the track lists. So on mine, I think it's As It Was, Possum, and then what's the other one that's already been released?
Wake Me Up.
Wake Me Up,
yeah.
Yes.
Vici.
Which are all so great.
Nice.
But then Shay, that motherfucker, showed me, and it's like Touch of Grey.
Yep.
Like,
Touch of Grey's on there. What else?
Fly Like an Eagle.
Fly Like an Eagle. I sang that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so good.
Fun, very trippy. I'm trying to feel like, did we do another great?
Yeah, there's
tune?
one. Is there another dead tune?
Maybe
I did
not,
want to
but-
ask you about, because I know recently I was looking up when Phil died, obviously, rest his soul. You guys played with him in 2019, right?
At Red Rocks. I mean, we played with him a bunch of times over the years, but yeah, 2019.
Was that the most recent time, was 2019?
No, we played with him last year.
Did you go out to Terrapin then?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we played with him at Terrapin a bunch of times.
How was that?
Awesome, because that's his home base,
For sure.
Actually, a great quick Phil story. The first time...
We're here for all the Phil stories. Fuck Shay, don't worry about him.
The first time we ever met Phil, we were at Terrapin Crossroads, and backstage, they had like a little camper back there we were in, and we were waiting for Phil to arrive. And they had this vaporizer back there that had like, it was like a digital thing where you could set the exact temperature and all this stuff. And
so
we're
all
like...
the crusty potheads are
total, I mean, this is like...
It's going to be 168
Dude,
degrees.
this is Bay Area.
Yeah.
Shit, been doing it a long time. And so we're like, okay, I'm trying to figure this thing out. And Phil just pops his head in the door, never met him, and he sees what we're doing, and he just goes, you're going to want to put that on 212. That's
Yes,
sweet
see?
spot. I was like,
awesome.
yeah. We were always like, no way.
We're like, yes. Okay, so 212, always and forever.
Yeah.
Locked in.
But yeah, he was great, and yeah, we played with him at Terrapin Crossroads a bunch of times. We were the Phil and Friends band at Lock-In with Fishman and Paige and all the Dusters and Phil.
Oh, shit.
And Tedeschi Trucks, Anders Osborne, and Joe Russo.
All on stage at the same time. What'd you guys play? Do you remember?
Yeah, we played Dead tunes.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. It was freaking cool. It was cool because that was like Locken had the rotating stage.
Yeah.
So it's got there's a wall and then there's a band playing for the crowd and then behind the wall facing the other way backstage you're setting up a whole nother band and then the band's done and then you're standing there ready to go and the whole freaking stage is
that must be so sick.
There's 25,000 people and you start into Scarlet Begonias and we're like all right here we go.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite Dead tune to play?
Gosh, I like a lot of them. I mean,
not to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean,
like, is there one that you love? Oh, the solo in this, or when I get to rip this part of this song.
I do love Scarlet Begonias. I sing that one when we do it, and something about. I mean, there's so many good ones.
Oh no, it's so great, and that's why I fucking hate Shay because he's not on the Dead train.
Okay.
Well, that's why I give him shit.
Okay, so the way this guy talks about it, he's like, "Hey, everybody, Shay hates the Grateful Dead." And I'm like, "That's not true at all."
I told David Gans that.
He did tell David Gans.
Hate the Dead.
Yes,
yeah, that's what he told.
That's
not true.
We interviewed David Gans, and I was like,
nice.
Shitting bricks.
Love
I was like,
Gans.
oh my, he's an amazing human being. And I was like, yeah, Shay hates the Dead. So
I just started
and then
off
just
that.
blows right by. It doesn't even give me a chance for rebuttal.
Like, fuck
This
that
fucking
guy.
yeah,
that's
awesome.
okay. That's what. At least you'll be remembered for that instead
Yeah.
of being like, oh, aren't you the guy with the blah blah blah?
Well, now I'm the guy that fainted at the Magoo show. That's what everybody knows me for. So
That's just because the Dobro player took your breath away.
He did.
Right. Shredded your face
I
off.
messaged him afterwards like, guys, you played so hard it literally knocked me out.
Oh man, it was like a cat themed show, and Cortland, the mandolin player, they were doing like a meow countdown, and he literally went down at meow.
Oh no!
And then Cortland goes, "Oh, I guess we meowed too loud."
That was
Oh man, I get dizzy.
too psychedelic.
Oh dude, it was wild. Then I remember waking up on the floor, everyone asked him okay, and then making eye contact with Cortland, and he's just like,
Shit.
I gotta go.
Oh man,
Just got too hot.
It
But
happens.
so hydration matters, people. That's my new message.
Oh,
Dude,
1,000%. Is there
watch
some?
the gummies.
Yeah. Well, fuck. I mean, and especially in Colorado, because like people come here, because like this is a mecca, right? So like people come travel the shows to Colorado, and they do too much too fast, right? And I've seen
Up at altitude.
many. Yes, it is hardcore, and people just don't get it. This fucking idiot just didn't drink water.
Yeah,
So
it happens.
Like,
It happens, man.
come
There's a
on.
lot to think about, but if you cover the basics, water, namely, you're gonna be fine.
For sure.
So
I'm trying to remember that next time.
stay hydrated, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, stay fucking hydrated. So, what are you doing when you're not doing music? I'm sure, like you said, you've been doing this for 30 years, right? So this has been your life. What else, other than taking time to yourself meditate, what do you do to fill your time? How do you, as Dan Patrick say, fill your passion bucket?
Yeah, I mean, I like to do a lot of physical stuff. I mean, I like to run and bike and ski, and my wife is an ultra runner, so she
my fucking God.
She drags me on the trails and kicks my ass.
She's like, yeah, let's just do a nice 20-mile run, honey.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
that's a warm-up.
Yeah,
Right.
so she keeps me fit, and so I just love being in the mountains. I mean, that's a big part of why I moved out here, was so that when music wasn't happening, I'd have the mountains and the outdoor stuff to do. So that's a big part of it.
And you're like, fuck it, we're gonna have a ski season.
Yeah.
Ski tour.
Yep.
Let's
So
go.
yeah, I feel like just getting out, being active, being in the mountains that clears a lot of the clutter out for me. And I love doing that. I mean, I just got a nice camera, so I'm starting to take some pictures and
That's awesome.
and have fun doing some amateur photography.
So we're gonna see Andy come out on stage and taking pictures of the crowd, and Shay's gonna be there with his water bottle hydrating.
Sure. I mean, I don't know if band photography is very. I don't know. Maybe.
You don't want to catch the scene.
I love the scene. But I do catch the scene a lot.
He's
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say, you're probably.
okay, so here, not to get you started on shit. How do you feel about gatekeeping and rail riders? I don't know if you guys deal with that in your scene.
Of course.
Yeah, and I feel like it doesn't matter what band it is. There's some that feel like it, and like there's this balance of, hey, like I love the passion and determination, But I also feel like in every scene there's a lot of bullshit because not all those people are always standing in that line, but somehow they're all always getting to the front of the line.
Well, I will say our crowd, the rail riders, they do it right. I mean, they get there early. They're there for doors. Then they get their spot, and so they are protective of their spots because they put in the time and they put in the work, and they love it, and it's amazing. And so, all about it. You don't want to just power your way to the front and be elbowing people out of the way we're there all day waiting to do it. So,
for sure.
But I love it. I just love the whole idea of that level of enthusiasm is freaking great. So, more power to them, I think it's amazing.
Well, and that's what it is. It's like, go and put in your time and, like, see, because, like, you were talking before about when you were playing, like, what we talk about is we love getting so close to you guys that we can actually see you picking, right? And we can watch, like, that masterful work of you, like, strumming your instrument. And that's why I'm a sucker for bluegrass, is because of all these string instruments, just to see all of you at work and, like, seeing this, and then, like, when you're jamming together, and then, like, the melting of all of it, and, like, how you guys find that. How do you navigate some of that stuff? Did it start in the van where you guys are just picking all over the place trying to find, because you're like, hey, we saw this, now we need to jam. How did you evolve into a jam band? And then did, like, music theory help you to kind of understand, like, where you needed to make those bridges and connections?
It's funny because a lot of times the jams will happen just on, like, one chord, so you literally don't need any music theory to do it.
That's awesome.
It's more of like
and us fucking noobs have no idea.
Yeah. No, it's like, it's funny. It's like that's where, like, the feel and just whatever it is that is the creative spark comes into play. Where you don't all the shit you learned, all the school, that just that's already built into you, and you forget all that, and you just start to feel. You just go into feel mode and listen mode, and you just let it kind of evolve. And that is a skill. Jamming like that, the listening and the allowing of the space and all that is a total skill. Because when we first started doing it, and some of these guys like out in Colorado, like Bill Nershi and Drew Emmett, I remember was a big one. I'll never forget when we first started, extending solos and drawing out the picking. I'd be on stage with Salmon, and I'd take my little solo, like in traditional bluegrass back out east, it's 15 seconds.
Yeah, everybody gets their hit.
And then you go back to playing rhythm. And I'd do that with Salmon, and then Drew would just be like, looking at me like nothing.
Keep going, dude.
Like, you're not done. Like, okay, shit, keep going. and then I'd go for like another minute, and then I'd be like, no. And I'd look at him, and he'd be like, keep going. Like, oh shit, okay, all right. And so, I would just, it was like, so some education. But then you realize there's this whole other way to build something that is much more patient and slow, and all the levels of that jam have a cool effect, that percolating beginning part where it's spacious and it's just a vibe, and maybe a friend can like talk to a friend real quick and there's just this vibe going on, and then it starts to pick up and the rhythm starts to kick in and then people start dancing, and then you can percolate in that middle zone for like a nice long time, a little dance vibe, but it's not peaking yet. You're just in this like vibe where everyone's
just
moving.
Holding it.
Yeah, you're just keeping that zone going, and then when you're ready, you start to build it to the fever pitch, and then you release. And
so we all kind of knew that we have, as our energy as a crowd can really play into it. But hearing you say that, like, you're feeling those vibes and when you need to do it, and so like, are you like, oh fuck, we can stretch this out longer, or like, oh, we need to wrap this shit up, they're falling asleep out there?
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I mean, that the more the crowd is engaged, and it's the one thing I will say, like, just as a disclaimer, I never, as a band or as a musician, put any responsibility on the crowd, related to our performance. They can do whatever the hell they want. They paid their ticket. You can pay attention or not. It's nicer if you do, but
you can also shut the fuck up, though, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's better for everyone. You don't want to distract other people, but I mean, your experience, crowd's experience is their own, and if the crowd was chill, what's funny is, like, a lot of times there'll be some guy like standing in the front like this the whole time, and we're shredding faces, and people are, and there's just one guy just. And then at the end of the show, I see him. He's like, that was the best show I ever saw. That's the best night. That was the best night of my life.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
You're like,
Legit.
well,
All right,
okay.
I don't know anything then.
Please don't play poker because
Yeah.
I have no fucking clue.
But that happens. Doesn't everyone has a different way of expressing or not expressing themselves
or taking it in, right?
Yeah, but if we can see that people are very engaged, we're more likely to take more risks, stretch things out more, because we feel like people are there, they're in it. Whatever we're going to be doing, they're there for, and that's great. And so then things will develop differently. And if the crowd is maybe not quite, I don't want to say not as engaged, but maybe you're not feeling quite that, then sometimes things tend to be a little tighter, But whatever, it's just, there's a million things that go into what's happening on stage. And if there's one thing I've learned as a musician, what I think is happening sometimes is not happening. Like with that guy that I just described, or the vibe, or you get off stage and one band goes like, oh, that sucked, and two others is like, I thought that was the best show we played in like months, and you're like, what happened? I don't know. Something different happened for everybody that was there, including every band member, which is why it's so freaking cool.
So then how does it play in with like side projects?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So like you obviously have that feeling because you guys have this connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you like spent all this time together. But like you have Bluegrass General shirt on, right?
Yeah.
So like how often do you get to play with those guys, and then how do you like meld and mold to some of these people that you don't get to spend so much time with?
Well, one thing that I notice, I love playing with other musicians, and it's so fun because it's new and it's fresh and it's different, But when we go back, and we all say this, we go back and Dusters had some time off, everyone maybe did a side project, and then we come back and play a show. It's just the level of depth and comfort and the way it just locks in so quick because we've been a band for 20 years and played near 2,000 shows. It's like, there's just nothing that compares to that. I love playing other side stuff, and it's very rewarding, and I totally love doing it. But like I say, when I come back to the Dusters, how easy it is. Like it's like you've already got like so much done that you can take it further because you've had that 20 years of experience. When you do a side project, you're kind of just starting from scratch, or maybe you don't play that much. You're just like, okay, we got to figure out like songs and what's the vibe and what's the rhythm.
How did the Bluegrass Generals come about?
That was, how did this come about? We did it at the One Up the very first time, and whoever the owner of the One Up was at the time on Colfax was like shelling out some dough to like put on shows, and the promoter was like, "We want you to put together."
And he's like, "I can put together a band. Let's fucking go."
Yeah, so me and Panda were like, "We'll put together a sweet band." So we got Sam Bush, Larry Keel, and Sam Grisman.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just.
Just
some small names.
Yeah, and so we did 2 nights at the One Up, and so that was kind of the genesis of it. And when the One Up kind of wasn't doing it, I think the next year maybe we went to Cervantes. Been doing kind of the big one that we do every year at Cervantes. We do 2 nights there, and then a few other bits here and there, but not much. And we like never leave Colorado. We only play in Colorado. Yeah. We don't.
We're
travel.
Okay with that.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Everybody else can come and see us.
Just one of those special.
Don't apologize to them. They don't.
You be nice to our audience.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Yeah, I love you.
We're just trying to get the tourists out.
Yeah.
So because we need more people in Colorado. Please come on down. When's the Murdergrass cover band? I want death metal.
Oh yeah, like just murder songs.
Well, or just like or I think it's like Deathgrass. I think they call it. So it's like heavy metal bluegrass.
I'm not surprised. I love it.
I sent him a couple of bands. He's like, this stuff fucks.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
I'm down, man. Whatever.
I guarantee you could fucking shred some.
I love it.
Deathgrass.
I love Deathgrass.
Be like,
I'm in.
All right, I'm gonna send Andy Hall some stuff. We're gonna figure this out. All right. This is what we're gonna do.
Let's do.
All right.
Metal.
So let's talk a little bit about. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was Hurricane Helene. I'm sorry about this, but we're gonna beat this thing to a drum because we keep raising more fucking money. I don't know how we're doing it. It's been amazing, but we are having Magoo, Strings in the Box, as well as the Mighty Holler play this Friday in Broomfield, Colorado. Doors open at 7, show starts at 8. Message us for $15 tickets until the day of. Surprisingly enough, we've been selling a bunch of these fucking tickets, but we want to sell this thing out. So come check out. Andy Hall won't be there, but there will be Dylan, who is a phenomenal Dobro player.
Incredible.
You guys can come and check us out. We're going to be doing also a bunch of raffles. So we have Rocky Grass tickets. We have a brand new Never Summer snowboard. We have a custom frame. We have, I don't even remember, Shay, what else is there?
Frame jobs. There's some posters still, I think. We still have posters.
There, of course, there's always posters.
There's always posters,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Awesome.
But so yes, we appreciate it. We really want to hit 10 grand. That would be amazing if we could raise that much money. But to do that, we would have to sell this out. We need your guys' help. We're very appreciative for Andy for stopping by, getting us to learn a little bit more about you, about some of your journey. I'm still fucking blown away by the Dolly Parton thing, so I'm definitely going to Photoshop a picture of Andy and Dolly Parton for this episode cover, just so that everybody can know what the fuck it is.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you for stopping by.
Seriously.
Come to fucking Bowling and Bluegrass. I always fuck it up. Melodies of Relief. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks so much.